Good evening, and thank you for joining us for another edition of NTVs Grow. Tonight, we have more information on the trade office opening up in China. Also, you get to meet the Farm Youth of the Month, and we visit a local dairy farm. First, let's get to that trade office. Governor Dave Heineman recently announced this new opening in China. He says it's a wonderful opportunity to promote Nebraska products overseas. We had a chance to sit down and talk with him, and here's what he had to say.
Well, it's a big day for Nebraska agriculture. Today, Governor Dave Heineman announcing the opening of Nebraska's trade office in Shanghai, China. And the governor joins us now on the phone with more on this big announcement. Now that the official trade office is officially open, Governor, what does this really mean for Nebraska agriculture and business? What do you think?
What it means, Seth, is the opportunity for more exports to China and Asia in general. China is one of the largest countries in the world, an ever-increasing population. They've now become our fourth largest trading partner. Exports have doubled in the last 5 years. So this is a significant opportunity for Nebraska agriculture and Nebraska business in general.
Governor, will this be primarily ag exports, or are all types of Nebraska products going to be dealt with here?
It's going to be all types of products. It's going to be everything from ag products to irrigation equipment to transportation, legal services, financial services, technology. We're going to be involved in every type of product that's produced here in Nebraska. We want to be able to market in China.
Do you hope this office, Governor, will spark new relations in other countries? It was 2006 that you opened the Tokyo office as well, so this is kind of in your wheelhouse, so to speak, or are there other offices already in the works? What do you think?
Seth, we're going to continue to expand our markets all over the world. In certain parts of the world, particularly Asia, it's important to have an office and a presence there locally. Now, here in the North American continent where Canada is our next door neighbor, or Mexico, it's not quite as important in that regard. So we will continue to look at moving our products and exporting them all over the world. In Asia, though, it's very, very important. The Tokyo office, now the Shanghai office, will open new doors for Nebraska businesses and Nebraska agriculture.
Governor, let's talk again about China there. You have a person there by the name of Grace Gui, the newly named executive director of this office here. This sounds like a really impressive person to head that office.
It's a very impressive person. She's from China, but she got her education from Creighton University here in Omaha. She's worked in Nebraska for several years. So to have someone who born and raised in China, understands that country, understands Nebraska, this is a real relationship builder for us. And again, her expertise will be invaluable as we continue to enhance and improve our relationships with the government of China and Chinese businesses.
Governor, it's also, as you know, Ag Week here in Nebraska. Your office is recognizing Ag Week this week. What do you hope to convey to people about agriculture that are directly involved in the ag industry?
I want to, first of all, say thank you to our farmers and ranchers for all they do for us, the food that they produce for our state, all of America, and frankly, all over the world. Secondly, I want our citizens to appreciate what our farmers and ranchers do, and so we want to highlight Nebraska Ag Week. It's the #1 industry in this state. It's growing, and value-added agriculture has grown significantly over the last decade, whether you look at ethanol industry, for example, or food processing, and that occurs not just in rural Nebraska, but in urban Nebraska.
Well, thank you very much, Governor. We're out of time. I'm sure this is a proud moment for you with this deal with China. Thanks so much for taking a couple moments with us.
My pleasure, Seth.
In other ag news, lawmakers across the country are introducing bills to make it more difficult for animal welfare advocates to investigate animal cruelty cases. Some bills make it illegal to take photographs at a farming operation. Others make it a crime for someone, such as an animal welfare advocate, to lie on an application to get a job at a plant. That's the case with LB 204, currently up for debate here in Nebraska. That proposal would also require anyone with evidence of abuse to turn it over to law enforcement within 24 hours, which advocates say does not allow enough time to document illegal activity. When you see Eat Beef advertisements, that's an example of checkoff dollars at work. That money is spent by producers when they sell their cattle, and now the Nebraska Cattlemen's Association is proposing a state beef checkoff.
With less animals out there to collect it, the state is now looking at possibly having a state checkoff.
The national checkoff is already in place. It's $1 per head of live cattle sold. The proposal would add a state checkoff of $1 a head, meaning the new total would be $2 per head. This checkoff would be mandatory, although producers could request a refund. That would kind of double what you're paying into this if you're selling cattle. Is that okay with you? Some people might think, that's a little extra money out of their pocket.
When you look at the whole budget of what we spend our money on, it's just pennies compared to what we get out of it. It's such a value-added benefit.
That value refers to the money funding advertising and other programs to market the beef industry in Nebraska. That also includes research and consumer information.
If we look at some of the things that we can utilize off the beef animal now for different cuts and steaks that used to be put into hamburger 20 years ago, we've added a lot of value to that beef animal, a lot of variety for our consumers. It also promotes our product to people who might have concerns about protein and protein sources.
State Beef Checkoff Working Group lead Dave Hamilton says times are changing, and in order to successfully reach today's dynamic consumer, it will require additional checkoff in the state. Not all producers out there agree. Some say this doesn't help out the smaller operations. There is a search, though, right now to assess area producers and get their thoughts on adding the state checkoff. On your screen, you see several meetings are set up across the state to help answer questions and gather input from area producers. Workshops are also being held, and the focus is to help evaluate the effect of drought in eastern Kansas pastures. This will be hosted by the Kansas Rural Center and the Natural Resources Conservation Service. The aim is to help cattle ranches determine how well their ranges and pastures can support livestock after about 2 years of drought. They will also focus on what steps can be taken to protect grazing resources. Officials say early April is the time for making adjustments to maintain drought-stricken pastures. Pastures and fields are still feeling the effects of that drought, but there is help available. In 2012, Nebraska was declared a disaster area, so the Emergency Loans Program is an option. Now, in order to qualify, producers have to be turned down by their current lender, and that current lender would then be able to refer them to the FSA.
Right now, it would be 2.25% interest. The terms that we could finance this loan would depend on what we're using for collateral. If it's machinery and equipment, it might be 7 years. Real estate, we could go up to 20 years. They have to have suffered at least a 30% loss from normal on their crops. So, like if their normal yield is 100 bushel the acre, say on dryland crops, and their yield was less than 70. They've met that 30% requirement, but then we do deduct anything that they might have received from federal crop insurance, so we're not duplicating that benefit.
For the majority, the deadline is April 1st. Others have an April 8th deadline. Contact the Farm Service Agency if you have questions. This last week was National Agriculture Week, a chance to really step back and think about how agriculture affects our daily lives. The Nebraska Agriculture Youth Council, they actually travel across the state educating youth about agriculture, and they say this is an opportunity to bridge that knowledge gap when it comes to understanding agriculture and how it affects our lives and where our food comes from.
There's definitely a gap, and that's the biggest thing, though, is it's not just the youth, it's youth and adults. Us as council, our main goal is to educate the youth because that's going to be the next leaders. So we see educating the youth about agriculture now, it's going to have a positive influence not only on Nebraska in the future, but the United States if they know where their food comes from.
Governor Heineman unveiled a new agriculture magazine, Nebraska Agriculture and You. It's published by the Nebraska Department of Agriculture. It is designed to share information about the state's agriculture industry with general consumers. It's time now to turn back the clock and crank up or dust off those old antique tractors. You can sign up for the Tractor Relay, and it's a chance to bring history alive all along Highway 30. starts on June 1st, and you can register now. There are different segments along the highway you can sign up for. Some choose to travel the whole route. This year it starts at Pine Bluff, Wyoming, and ends in Missouri Valley. Last year was a success, and organizers say this is a fun way to go back to our roots and see a part of history.
You know, for me personally, and I think for a lot of the guys, it's just a way to keep our farming heritage alive. And there's a lot of antique tractors out there when you start looking around. A good way to get them out and exercise.
You can find more information on our website. Go to nebraska.tv, click on NTVs Grow. Stay with us as we have a new picture feature to share with you today here later in the show. Also, coming up next, we visit with a local dairy farmer. Stay with us.